What's up, you beautiful human beings, and welcome to the TasteTalk VIP Whiskey. We're here with Workato and Harbinger. I'm your host, Brad, and we got our whiskey expert, James.
How you doing, team?
So, if you're like me and James, you have 4 whiskeys to taste. We're ready to taste them. Feel free to unmute your mic and chime in every now and again. We'd love to see your beautiful faces on the camera. How's everybody doing? Do one of these if you're having a good time.
Woo! All right, love it.
Okay, well, James, how about we take the floor and start with the first beverage?
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick intro, guys. My name is James. Been working with craft cocktails and whiskey specifically for about 10 to 12 years. So I'm really excited to be here and give you guys a little intro to these 4 delicious whiskeys that we have. Hopefully you guys have maybe cracked 1 or 2 of these bottles and tried them for yourselves already. If you guys have, I know you guys received this, correct? So with these tasting notes that are on here and on the back, I know you guys are probably taking notes of your own. So let's go ahead and play along. And if you guys taste anything new or fun or different, please write it down and join us on this little whiskey journey.
And if you already took a taste test so far, raise your hand if you've already just sampled a little bit. Okay, just me and James. Okay, good, okay, good.
Perfect, great.
Well, let's start with the first one.
Cool.
It is the Fucano. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You are pronouncing it correctly.
Okay, and the Fucano will look much like this if it was on the shelf, right?
Absolutely.
And well, where do we start?
Well, I'll get you guys started real quick. So if everyone has their bottle, let's pour just a little taster in these snifters here.
Or a big one. Dave, I'm watching you.
Or a big one. So Fucano is a very soft, approachable intro to a Japanese style whiskey. So being a Japanese style whiskey, you're going to get a little different flavor profiles as far as being compared to Scotch, Irish whiskey, American bourbon, stuff like that.
Okay.
Basically, as we're bringing the snifter to our nose, you get aromas of soft fruits, a little floral content. The staves that are used to age Irish whiskeys are hyper-specific to Japan. So the wood that they use is a little softer, a little more porous. So what they do is they absorb a little more of the whiskey and extract a little more flavor. So as you guys bring this up, write some notes and get a little taste of this deliciousness.
Here we go. Bottoms up, everybody. Yeah, that's got a.
What do you get on that?
You know, immediately I kind of get a little spice to it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay.
Very accurate.
Is anybody else watching getting any spice with this flavor? Raise your hands, please. Okay, Dave. I knew it, Dave.
Yep. Little spicy, little floral, and it's soft enough to be approachable.
Totally.
But complex enough to be deep and a little more, just slightly unique, which really sets apart.
It's not overwhelming by any means.
No.
It's actually a really nice, like, light taste too.
Yeah, and part of that is complemented by the fact that it's made with this particular Fucano, the 10-year, obviously aged 10 years with ex-sherry staves, as well as using 100% malted rice. So you get that really soft mouthfeel.
Okay, right on. Does anybody have any feedback on that? Feel free to unmute yourself and participate.
Very smooth. We are enjoying it from New Braunfels, Texas.
Hey, New Braunfels, Michael.
How you doing, Texas?
Appreciate it. Anybody else?
Drinking outdoors, looking good.
Oh, dig it. Well, if you guys are ready and willing, let's move on to number 2.
Cool.
So this guy right here, we'll be tasting the Glenfarquist 17.
All right, the Glenfarquist 17.
Yep.
The old Lord Farquhar, if you will. Oh.
So yeah, so with this guy, obviously this is a Scotch whiskey. So as you pour out a little bit into y'all's snifter, you'll get notes of slight peat, but not too smoky. I know some Scotches kind of scare off some people with just that heavy smoke profile. What you're going to get out of the Glenfarquist 17 is going to be a little bit softer notes. And that is mainly due because it is rested for a full 17 years in ex-sherry casks.
Wow.
So
17 years.
Yeah.
Untouched.
Untouched.
Okay. Well, shall we, everybody?
Yeah. Take some notes on this one as well.
Bottoms up.
Dave.
that has, in my opinion, a very full spectrum taste to it.
And that's one of Glenfarquist's more approachable whiskeys for how old it is.
Okay.
Most people tend to go for a younger Scotch because it is more complex. So the longer you age whiskeys, the more sweetness and more butterscotch caramel flavors you're going to get out of the wood.
Okay.
Whereas this particular expression is very soft, very approachable, and for the age statement, it's a very good intro to Scotch whiskeys.
And is there a reason why 17 years is the year that they decided to cut it off at?
You know, every distillery is a little different as far as what they want to use as far as age statement and proprietary barrels and proprietary mash bills, which is basically the build of their particular whiskeys. So I'm not sure why they decided on 17, but my guess would be the master distiller liked the flavor profile after 16 years and said, hey, let's age it one more and see what we can get out of it. They probably had another batch that they aged for 18 years and said, nope, this is not what I want to get.
Understand. So, and does anybody have any feedback for us here? Chloe said honey.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of got a honey feedback from that?
Yeah.
Chloe, okay. What does very approachable mean? Ward said.
So very approachable, I would say, for the intro drinker, I would say very approachable is something that you can taste right off the bat, where it's not going to ruin your palate, where you can have a sip or two of it and enjoy it and get all the complex flavors from it, but it doesn't, say if it was a peat bomb and very, very smoky, you wouldn't be able to taste your next sip or your next bite of dinner or glass of wine you're enjoying or something like that.
Okay. And Michael said it's good for his head cold. Would that make sense?
Yes. That honey and Scotch go well together in certain cocktails, so that definitely makes sense.
Cool. Some great Scotches taste like punishment. This is not that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
It's a good balance between 100% malted barley that they use and the age statement, as well as the grain bill. So
cool. Dave, do you have any questions or feedback for us? We're picking on you, Dave.
Well, I'm not much of a whiskey drinker.
Okay.
So I'm going to reserve my judgment until I have gone through all of them. In a past event, I did favor Irish whiskeys, probably because of the sweetness, and maybe maybe that's my bias that I bring.
No, I totally understand. I'm from Ireland myself, actually. I'm an Irish citizen, so I totally get that. This is definitely a lot different than your typical Irish whiskey.
Yeah, and definitely not a bias, because everyone has a different flavor palette, and so one person might get honey and peat, and one person might get chocolate and caramel. So these events are really fun because you can get a bunch of different perspectives from a bunch of different people.
And Michael mentioned that it would probably be good for a hot toddy.
Yes,
very
much so.
Okay.
The lingering aftertaste, which is actually pleasant. In other words, it's.
Yeah. I would agree. I realize, and please, if anybody agrees, when you take a sip of these whiskeys and then immediately breathe out your nose, you really get that kind of full scent profile, more so than I think when you even just sniff it before you taste it.
Yeah, I agree. And certain whiskeys you want to inhale, take a sip, and then exhale out the mouth. Certain whiskeys are a little better when you inhale, take a sip, and then exhale through the nose. And that really kind of depends on what style you're trying. Thankfully, we have a full lineup of 4 different styles, so especially with the Glenfarquist, I think that would be, if you don't want too much Scotch on your palate, exhaling out the nose would be a better idea. So
agreed. Well, we're moving on to our next beverage, unless anybody has any questions or good to go. Okay. Speakers. All right. Moving on. We have 4 minutes until the speakers are going to be coming on, so we're going to pass it on to them.
Absolutely.
We'll see you in about a little break. We'll see you in a little break.
Thank you, guys. Hope you enjoyed.
I will share my screen. Hi, everyone. So my name's Anna Glumac. I'm Workato's partner marketing manager. We're stoked to have all of you guys here with us, and we hope you're enjoying the show so far. We're here today to talk about how we're going to accelerate your connectivity in the HR ecosystem with an embedded integration solution. So we're going to introduce a couple of our speakers here today. Then we're going to open up some polls for you guys and kind of gauge where you're currently at in your integration journey. And then we'll kind of talk through all of that and kind of talk about who we are and how Harbinger and Workato are kind of changing the game together. All right, so without further ado, super excited to have Shrikant, President at Harbinger Systems with us today, and Janhavi, our VP of Strategy and Business Development at Harbinger. And then on the Workato side, we're super excited to have Nam, our Vice President of the embedded platform, and then also Padture here with us as well, who is also our Vice President of the embedded platform. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Nam to kind of talk about who we are.
Everyone, thanks for joining. So from a very high level, we're really excited to have this conversation, obviously. For those of you guys who are unaware, Workato is an integration automation platform. Myself and Patrick O'Leary run our embedded business unit. And what essentially that means is we help other software companies leverage the Workato platform to power integrations of their product to their customers. And you can see here the immense growth that we've had over the last few years that we've been doing this has been tremendous and humbling. And furthermore, by partnering with partners like Harbinger Group, we've really been able to bridge that chasm that product teams have consistently run into in terms of trying to understand what their customers need, how quickly can they react to it, and then everybody wants to be proactive. But what we've seen in the market is that it's not realistic. So together, what we've been able to put together is essentially a solution and a platform and a team that enables our customers and our partners to be able to quickly react to the myriad of integration applications and use cases that really make their products sticky today. Jump into the slides from here on.
Perfect. All right. So before we dive in, we're going to do a couple polls here. So we're going to open up the first poll. So how many applications are you planning to integrate your product with this year? And we'll leave it open for a little bit here so you guys can kind of think about it and answer your questions.
You want us to do all three, right? Questions.
Oh, good question. Were all three released at the same time?
Yep.
Okay, so I will share the next slide too. And then the second poll is which platforms are you looking to integrate with? As you can see on your screen. And then the final question here is how do you solve for product integrations today? So we'll give you guys a minute or so to answer all three. And then we'll share the percentage results on the screen.
All right, we didn't get a pop-up for this one. Are we supposed to?
Let's see.
I think all three questions were asked.
Yeah,
the
so if
first
you
one.
just scroll down on the poll, then you'll see all three.
Got it.
There you go. Give you guys a couple more seconds here. All right, so I will end the poll now so we can see the results. There we go. All right, so 64% of the group is looking to integrate around 1 to 10. All right. 36, 10 or more. Very nice.
There are all sorts of platforms that, that you want to integrate with. Probably we have not listed all. There would be more than this, maybe.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. Nice.
Some of them already using an iPaaS solution for integrations.
18%. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for participating. I'm going to pass it over to Shrikant now. Off to you.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Nam, for the introduction. The polls were just to, make sure that the whiskey has not affected everybody, and they're just like, still making the right choices. So yeah, I mean, thank you for coming here, and hope you enjoyed the first part of the session. Hopefully this part will be as engaging as the final session as well. So from a perspective of, integrations, and we as an organization have been helping other product companies build their integrations for about more than 10 years now. We think that there are three components when you make an integration decision that becomes important. First of all is, what strategy are you choosing when it comes to integration? And that comes down to pretty much a few questions like, right out of the box, do you want to say that your product is integrated with the popular players in the market? Also, when you look at the number of other applications that would want to integrate into you in future as your product gets bigger and bigger, you don't want to support all of them via custom and API-based connections. You need a more robust and a scalable solution. So, for example, if you are a emerging learning management system or an LXP platform, then if you want adoption in your customer base, right when you're launching, you want like to integrate with the popular LMSs. At the same time, if you look out in the industry, there are 100 or 200 other specific LMSs that people are using, or there could be custom homegrown learning management systems that people are using. So if you use a more scalable integration strategy, the adoption of your product will be much better. The second most important thing when we get called into to do integration is when a sale has already happened. That means the platform has been sold and the customer has come back saying that, we will make the implementation live only after you complete the integration. And that typically takes anywhere between 3 to 6 to a year as well, depending upon where you are in the integration ecosystem, based on with whom you want to integrate. So based on the customers that you're targeting, the geography that you're targeting, it's also very important to have a good, solid integration strategy and an integration plan. You cannot come to it after a sale has happened, because in most cases you will end up missing out on that customer. And also, because we are talking, and in this last few years, there's a lot of talk about automation and hyper automation and everything happening in real time. So gone are the days when you want to do things where you upload files and things happen overnight. And typically in a recruitment industry where in these days of great resignation, or you're attracting talent and you want to communicate with talent in real time, some of these notifications and messages that you send across and connecting all platforms, be it ATS, be it job boards, be it your own onboarding systems, you want everything in real time. And some of these solutions that Harbinger and Workato are trying to bring together in terms of an iPaaS based option enable you to do that. And finally, when you look at the technology side, I think the integration is not straightforward anymore. There is no one standard governing all applications and all tools. It's not just a very simple XML format that you can exchange. There is a lot of information and a lot of specific app and workflow specific information that you exchange. So you need to take all of those things into account when you come up with an integration plan of what exactly you want to do in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Also, an important aspect of integrations that as we have built a lot of integrations, we realize is you need to know upfront what is the transaction volume you're going to deal with. Because if you don't know upfront, then scaling some integrations becomes very challenging, and your customers will get disappointed if you don't have the right solution. So all in all, I think this checklist can be quite big. We have just listed out a few points here to give you an idea of, if you are beginning your integration journey, or you are deciding to, move it a few notches up, what you need to do. From a Harbinger standpoint, and if we can move to the next slide, there are 2 types of integration that usually depends upon the number of integrations that you're dealing with, or the budgets, or the size of market share that you are looking to tap into. However, what we believe is the future is embedded iPaaS. If you are a product company and you're looking to give a scalable solution to your end customers, because your go-to-market will be very short, you will be able to right out of the gate support high volume and cater to the demands of the customer, be it a small customer or large customer, as well as things like support and community access to readily available connectors and recipes and so forth will be there. So you can learn from what others are doing. Whereas if you go the custom route, chances are it's a good starting point to get to know how integrations, how to do the integrations, but your product engineering team will be spread too thin, supporting integrations during customer sales, as well as staying focused on the roadmap. So we believe the future is iPaaS, but I think there are options. We advise like you go step by step, taste the water, do a couple of point-to-point integrations, and then move to iPaaS. But we believe the future is going to be an iPaaS-based story, and therefore choosing something which gives you a long-term roadmap of 3 years, 5 years, and supports you, that should be something that you're looking for. So on that note, I will hand it over to Janhavi to present a few examples. Janhavi, over to you.
Thanks, Shrikant. And that was like a perfect segue into a couple of customer stories that we wanted to share. The first one, of course, these are mutual customers. And I think the theme that Shrikant talked about is, you'll see it resonates in these and so many other examples of customers we've worked with, which is scalable integrations as a strategy, for growth, for customer adoption. And so first example here, first customer story, I guess we have a Fountain. They're a recruitment platform, for faster sourcing, qualifying, and hiring of, candidates, especially effective for industries where there is a high volume hiring involved, such as restaurant businesses and so on. And obviously, given the volume of data that needs to be synced, integrations are a very critical part of their business strategy and business growth. In fact, to provide for a seamless sort of hiring experience and data insights, Fountain platform is actually designed with integrations in mind. So Fountain actually needs to integrate with various HRIS systems, payroll, time tracking systems, that their customers use in order to sync employee hire, rehire, and even termination data. And after much consideration, I think Workato had chosen Workato. Fountain had chosen Workato to keep up with that speed of basically the customers that were being onboarded. And really, the main motivation, from what I understand, and the value that they saw in this was that Workato's availability of the ready connectors. So obviously, there's so many that they can quickly get up and running with. The reduced engineering spend that they would have to do in the long run. Time to market, again, with the volume of data and so many customers being onboarded at this so quickly, I think that was very essential. And of course, scalability. For instance, once you have an initial recipe created for a customer, it can easily be reproduced or cloned, so to speak. So I think all of these factors weighed in when they went with Workato. And so far, as I understand, they have 6, 7, maybe a little more integrations that they've implemented using Workato. And this number is expected to double, if not more, over the next coming year. And so given their roadmap for integrations, Fountain actually reached out to some of Workato's partners to help them with their integration development so that they could scale their integration sort of roadmap. And obviously they brought in Harbinger for our expertise in HR technology space. And today Harbinger is helping with a lot of, doing recipe reviews and development of new integrations and recipes based on Workato best practices, and also implementing some really complex workflows, reports, and last but not least, custom connectors for Fountain. So, and we hope to see more of these integrations, successfully implemented in this coming year. So that's the Fountain story. And then we can move on to the next. So that our next story is Skill Survey, another of our mutual customers. They are a talent intelligence platform providing basically measurable data and insights through surveys and feedback. Such as reference checks and employee post-hire surveys and so on. In fact, Skill Survey happens to be a longtime valued customer of Harbinger, and we've been working with them for over 10 years, providing software development services. And as a part of that, we have also done several integrations for them. I'll talk about that in just a bit. But even for Skill Survey, again, that the point that, going back to Shrikant's point about scalable integrations for growth, I think that seems to be sort of the theme. They wanted to integrate with various ATSs and HRIS platforms. It was of strategic importance to them for customer acquisition. And for a seamless sort of experience, again, the candidate and employee data from their customers' HR systems needed to be sort of automatically synced or transferred to the Skill Survey platform so that the reference check and other workflows sort of can be executed seamlessly. So, all of the integrated, so they have a couple of, actually more than a couple of different platforms or products, but two I'll talk about here is reference check platform and a post-hire platform. So reference check came earlier and we helped them build that platform and the integrations. The point to note here is there's over 25 plus integrations in the reference check, but those were developed slowly over time. And those were all custom integrations. And currently, about, I want to say 50% or more candidate data in Skill Survey that's received comes from these integrations seamlessly from all these ATS platforms. So again, where integrations is a very critical and integral part of their business. That said, moving on to sort of the newer post-hire platform, which is where Workato came in the picture, is the newer post-hire platform. It got a lot of traction in the market, and given the success and again the speed of customer onboarding, Skill Survey needed to really accelerate their integrations. And the point to note again is the earlier reference check integrations that were developed were one primarily for integrations with ATS systems, whereas the post-hire integrations needed to be focused on HR systems or HRIS integrations. So there was almost no sort of reusability or overlap in the integrations that were needed. And so there was a forced almost strategy shift to evaluate iPaaS solutions because, and I guess that, again, that increased time to market, reduced maintenance costs were sort of the key business drivers, given how quickly they needed to get some of these HR systems integrations in place. And then after evaluating a few iPaaS solutions, Skill Survey also chose to go with Workato, and now Harbinger is helping Skill Survey implement, sort of develop these integrations, custom connectors, as well as build some of the recipes and some workflow automations as well. So yeah, I just thought these customer stories are always interesting and what their business drivers are. But with that, we can move on. And I think it's a slide about Harbinger, and maybe Shrikant, you want to take that over?
Yeah, thanks, Janhavi. Just a quick 30 seconds about us. We have been in business for 30 years. We specialize in HR, content, education, and learning domains. And if you're looking for, a service provider with with a vast amount of domain experience and product engineering experience to specifically embed an iPaaS solution as an integration option for your customers and in a scalable way, then Harbinger has the know-how to be able to do that and support you. So thank you. And let me hand it over to Nam and Patrick to take it over from here.
Hey everyone, I'm the last two slides between you and two more whiskeys, so I'll make sure that I keep it quick. Quick snapshot of Workato. You guys have heard a lot about our embedded business today. A main driver of our kind of strength in the market comes from our embedded business, which is us working with software companies to deliver customer-facing integrations, but also us working directly with organizations to provide kind of center of excellence around integration and automation company-wide. We call that our direct business, and that's where we're focused on commercial, mid-market, and emerging organizations using Workato inside of their business, so not connecting externally. We've got a great founding team, tons of customers. We're growing like crazy. It's a really hot market as the integration and automation spaces converge, as we've seen a lot of trends lately. And Workato, we feel like we're in a great spot to really capture a lot of that market. Lastly, as we focus on these embedded capabilities, what that really means is using Workato to deliver customer-facing integrations, connecting your application or platform to your customer's third-party systems. We've got three main types of services on the spectrum. You can use Workato in a managed service perspective, meaning your team builds and manages all of the integration components. You can do things like expose some of the UI to your customer even, so you can push some of the work of building and maintaining some of these integrations onto the customer. Some of the strengths that we see in the market are just some of the things that the team has touched on today, from access to connectors to quick ways to build and manage and templatize recipes. We work with the Harbinger group really closely as they work with our customers to build these out for their ecosystems. So it's really easy to take Workato, take a partner like Harbinger Group, and really work together to quickly and easily deliver customer-facing integrations without the need to include your development or product engineering teams. Lastly, as we grow and scale this business, we're working with companies of all sizes. So we have a lot of customers that are in the Series A, Series B, Series C range that are building their platform and trying to compete with industry leaders. But we've also scaled this out at a large range with thousands and thousands of customers to companies like Zendesk and Verizon and Seismic and Epicor and others. So software companies of all sizes can use and get a lot of value out of Workato, especially as you consider some of the key elements that we bring. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, both from our side, Nam and my side, representing the Workato embedded business, but also from the Harbinger Group side. We work together with a lot of customers. We're super happy to share those stories with you and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you to all our presenters. And just want to make a note that if you guys do want to continue the conversations with us, you will have our contact information sent over an email after the event. And then a few people asked about the slide deck and recording, so we can absolutely share that as well with you in the next few days. All right, so I won't waste your time anymore, and we can go back to whiskey tasting.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Anna. We totally weren't eavesdropping on your entire conversation right there. I love that there's no lapse in between the the video conversations. I feel like we could be like on like the news. So I'd be like, all right, back to you, Ken. All right, here we go.
No, you
Sweet.
guys did great with that.
So we are going to move on to the next whiskey, and so if you are ready, feel free to grab your Michter's Straight Rye.
Yep.
James, why don't you take the floor? Tell us more about this beverage before we start sampling it.
So Michter's Straight Rye. So basically, this is going to be a straight rye whiskey instead of a blended rye. Straight rye means it's 100% rye.
Okay.
I usually like to describe rye as a more akin to rye bread. So if you think spicy notes, a little bit of like slightly bitter and hot, and that's just the nature of the grain.
Okay.
That really comes through with this whiskey, especially because it is on the younger side. So even though the first two whiskeys are very light in color,
Yeah.
and they were aged longer, this whiskey is a little darker based on the new American charred oak barrels that they use, and it has to be aged a minimum of 4 years. So
Okay.
it's going to be a little hotter right off the bat, but I want you guys to first taste it, and then I want to open it up and see what kind of differences you guys taste based on what should be a super hot product
Mm-hmm.
and what you guys taste, if there's any differences or discrepancies.
And I was going to ask you that, out of all of these samples that we're tasting,
Yeah.
this is the only one that doesn't actually have an age on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so no age statement on this, and that is very particular to the way American whiskey is made. For anyone who's unaware, you have to be in Bourbon County. You have to be in Bourbon County to have the EY on your whiskey label. If you're made a certain way, you have to put that on your label as well. So it's all based on these rules with American whiskey. And if it's aged a minimum of 4 years, you don't have to have an age statement on the bottle.
Okay. Well, without further ado, everybody, cheers. Bottoms up.
Yep. Cheers. Enjoy.
That was real smooth. That was nothing like you said that was gonna taste like.
I'm glad you thought so, because basically their mash bill on this straight rye and the proprietary rye that they use is very sweet. So on my palate, I don't know if you guys get this as well. It's very soft butterscotch. I get little notes of like caramel and toffee.
Yeah, that's what Nick said as well. It looked like.
Mhm.
And who is the one that said that it doesn't taste like anything you describe? Well, we need to dissect his palate right now. Is that who is this? Nam?
It's a Nam.
Nam. Sorry, Nam.
No problem.
What are you tasting when you drink this?
Not hot. It was really smooth going down. It was smooth the entire way. No bite at the end. No spices. That's what it tastes like.
I'm gonna back Nam on that. I think it was way smoother than. I thought it was smooth.
Is that Michael?
No, this is Roger.
Okay.
Hey there. No, I like that. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, it's a very different style rye, and I think a lot of these on everyone's palate are very non-aggressive and kind of on the intro side, like I was describing earlier with the other two.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good way to kind of give yourself a little base. So when the next time you try a certain other rye, you can use this as a platform. And
that makes sense.
Give yourself a little more education and have, with the notes that you're taking, say, cool, I got this note on this rye. This one doesn't really taste the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are my notes on that? And that way, when you're building out your home bar or trying something with friends at a restaurant, you can say, oh, I can give you suggestions on it.
And when we were taking many shots earlier, I remember you mentioning that the batch number also has a factor in the taste. Every batch number is different. Is this correct?
Yeah. So the cool thing with a single barrel straight rye, as with Michter's right here, is the fact that single barrel means it is only made in a certain limited batch. So that being said, this bottle has a number on it. All those bottles coming out of those particular barrels are going to have that label and that stamp on them. If you try one of these and then say 6 months from now, you try another one with a different age statement, or not the age statement, I'm sorry, barrel number, it's going to have maybe a slightly different flavor profile.
Okay.
And that is because that's basically represented from the variation on the wood that they use and the char on the barrel. Char on the barrel should be great and the same. And then the whatever wood they use creates that variation in how much the whiskey actually penetrates and extracts from the wood.
That's super interesting for somebody like me who's not familiar with all that goes into aging a whiskey. It sounds like the barrel plays a huge part.
Yeah. So the barrel definitely does. I think I mentioned earlier, if you guys could see, the first two are very light in color based on the wood that they use. Whereas these next two, we just tried the Mictors, we're about to try the Russells, are a little darker in color, even though they're of equal age or lesser age.
And we had Michael Coates say to everyone that Grandma is a savage and Grandpa opened High Time Wine Cellars in 1957. They are legendary.
Nice.
Michael, do you want to maybe add on to that? Maybe unmute yourself and reveal yourself, Michael?
Oh, I will show myself, I suppose.
There he is.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Sonoma, California, wine industry. And then my mom came from Orange County, Southern California. Her father and his brothers and sisters all opened High Time Wine Cellars in 57. So
wow.
To this day, the largest family-owned wine shop west of the Rocky Mountains.
That's awesome.
National distribution. You can order anything online, hightimewine.net. There's the plug.
Shameless plug. There you go.
But yeah, so anytime I am in Orange County and I can raid Grandma and Grandpa's wine cellar and liquor cabinet, I take advantage of that for sure. And then anytime I'm down there, I also go to the family store and the cousins hook it up.
That's awesome.
I like that. Family connections are the best.
Right. And I believe you're from California as well, right?
I am originally from LA area, yes. So
nice. Well, that's awesome, Michael. Do you what are your feedback on this last sample that we just tasted?
Fan favorite so far. I'm here with my colleague Justin. He's kind of blurred out. We're at the Phoenix Saloon.
Whoa, Justin! He just appeared just like Houdini. I thought he was behind the bar.
He just jumped out from right behind the bar. This background is actually a local saloon here in New Braunfels from the 1800s. So thought that was fitting. But yeah, this has been our favorite so far. Just looked it up on High Time's website and it's only $39.99 a bottle. Woo! We're ordering.
Can't beat that.
It is a little on the affordable side. So.
Yeah, but so far our favorite of the three we've tasted.
If this is your favorite so far and you're listening, unmute yourself and say favorite. All right, Michael, you're all by yourself.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna move on to the next beverage. So we're moving on to the Russell's Reserve, everybody. So break out the old Russell's Reserve. And now before we drink this, I want to know, what's the difference between a rye and a bourbon?
Cool. So a commonly asked question for the person who is not as savvy in the whiskey world. So basically on what we call a mash bill is basically the build of your grain content that goes into the still. The content of the mash bill for a, say, straight rye or even a blended rye has to be at least 51% rye. And then the bourbon has to be at least 51% corn.
Okay.
Which is why a lot of people get on their palate a little spicier flavor, a little more heat on rye whiskeys, whereas bourbons sometimes come off a little softer, a little sweeter, and that's just the nature of those grains.
Understandable.
Well, that's the quick version of
like a brief summary.
Yeah, brief summary.
And what are we expecting as we dive into this sample as far as a tasting profile goes?
So on the nose, I feel like this example, especially Russell's Reserve, this 10-year, is going to be a great example of a American style bourbon. It is easily balanced on the palate. You're going to have notes of a little bit of wood, butterscotch, slightly oaky, obviously, but it still uses an unused charred new American oak barrel.
Okay.
So you get a lot of that color, a lot of that flavor from the char.
And this one's a decade old.
Yep, 10 years.
Okay.
So
Chloe, I haven't seen you drink a single one. Oh, there she is. All right, here we go. Everybody, cheers.
Well, cheers.
Bottoms up.
Yeah.
Let's get this little taste in. Okay, Chloe.
I'm tasting vanilla.
Me too. You're not alone. Anybody else? If you're tasting vanilla, say vanilla. Just
Vanilla.
Just me and Chloe.
Vanilla.
Oh, there we go.
One more.
Oh, Michael chimed in because nobody chimed in when Michael wanted some people to back him up.
100%.
Everybody, give it up for Michael. Come on.
No, he's great. Yeah.
Nam, I want to see some smiles on your face, though. I'm not seeing enough smiles on Nam's face. Over there, he is. There he is.
I'm just trying to wonder why Nick tastes oak in every one of these so far.
Well, I mean, technically,
every barrel has
the barrel for a whiskey. It has to be some variation of oak. So he's not wrong, but also.
So I'm not wrong.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with a lot of times you get whiskeys that taste like the barrel, and a lot of times you get whiskeys that really don't, which are really cool and surprising.
Nam, what do you get? What's your feedback on this one?
I think it's a great one. See, I like whiskeys that go down smooth and punch me at the end. And I feel like this one just has just enough bite. I was raised Catholic.
So it is a little on the smoother side for sure.
That's how I like my women, Nam.
Get some nice polyphenols on here. That cracked black pepper on the finish showing through.
All right, if you're feeling a little buzz right now, say buzz.
Just a little bit.
Some of us are working, man.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, do you guys have any questions as far as any of these whiskeys go, as far like aging process or ingredients? I can try to help as best I can, to my knowledge.
No oak questions, Nam.
Which one drives the best scalability of your platform?
Best scalability?
Yeah, best
I'd say-
scalability across all your HR enterprise solutions. Which of these would you recommend to really stream?
Well, I mean, I would easily recommend all four. Easily recommend all four, but for
Nice try, Roger.
But for the easiness with which you will get service and customer service from these companies, I'd probably say light or easiest on the palate, maybe the Fucano.
Got it.
But they're all good in their own way.
What about you, Roger? What's your favorite so far?
Oh, I'm partial to the bourbon. So in general, I like the Michener straight rye was good too, though.
And is this your wife side next to you?
No,
No,
dear
I
friend of
am-
mine. No.
Yes, no, we're friends. He's actually visiting us, and I'm Seema Chaudhary. I'm with Harbinger.
Okay.
Oh, awesome. Great.
I work with Nick and Chloe and here. And he was visiting me from California. So I said, you timed it well. So come on.
Yeah.
Timed it perfect.
Absolutely.
And
Couldn't
he's
have-
with Safety Chain, one of another company, a software company.
Different industry, but we're already trying to figure out where's a Workato play for the manufacturing enterprise solutions.
Yeah, awesome. Great.
And Elizabeth, your favorite is Fucano. Is this true?
This is true, but I don't know. I don't really have a strong palate for whiskey. Or the last time I did a bourbon tasting at my cousin's home bar, he told me he did them all like a blind tasting of, and I picked the least expensive as the most expensive. So I don't really have the best tastes apparently.
Well, it's clear that the strongest palate in this entire live stream is clearly Nam.
I don't quite understand why you want that. Like the more expensive ones are more painful. Like I'm not interested in that necessarily. So
Doesn't matter. We have the same favorite one, so we're on the same team right now.
all right.
Awesome.
I agree. The Fucano was my favorite one.
I was looking that one up to buy that one. Yes.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
I drink a lot of Japanese whiskeys. I've never actually heard of them, so I actually Googled it while we were on this. Definitely listening as well, but also Googled it, and I can't wait to get my own bottle.
But we do drink a lot of hot toddies, and I'd love to compare notes in the chat on how people make their hot toddies.
Yep, I can answer some questions on that if you guys want. Whiskey, like each of these whiskeys can complement a different cocktail individually. As in something with some sort of honey and sweetness, like lemon juice and hot water, like a hot toddy. I might recommend maybe the Michter's or something a little hotter like the Russells, because those flavor profiles will balance out. Whereas if you want an old fashioned with a light style bitters that really expresses the whiskey, I might go with the Fucano or the straight rye. So the different balance in cocktails, it's all about balance when you mix. And kind of you want it to highlight each perspective flavor profile of the whiskey. So
And you know, here's a good question. I think I'd love to go just to get some interaction from everybody. Let's start with Anna. Anna, what is your favorite whiskey cocktail?
Oh, okay. I would say an old fashioned with
Me too.
either bullet bourbon is my favorite.
Okay.
Or Four Roses. And then my second favorite is screwball whiskey and making kind of like a peanut butter jelly cocktail. I'm obsessed with. So I think those are my two favorites.
I keep hearing that the peanut butter whiskey has really gained a lot of notoriety throughout the last like 5 or 10 years.
It has for sure. The most of the flavored whiskeys I think have come out when they hit the market were there was kind of there wasn't any gray area. Either you liked it or you didn't.
Yeah.
And nowadays I think they've re-upped their batch a little bit to approach to a wider spectrum
Audience.
And that also includes cocktails.
Right.
So you can use a peanut butter whiskey or say a cinnamon based whiskey in an old fashioned or a hot toddy if you want to give it a little kick, and actually, spice it up and have it not be sweet or syrupy or a lot of things that some flavored liqueurs and whiskeys and tequilas often have a tendency to be. So.
And Michael said that a few weeks ago he had an excellent cocktail in Austin, and it was bourbon, Fernet, and maple. That's an interesting combination. Whiskey with Fernet.
I'm actually familiar with the drill skill, and
they called it a Texas Revolver. That's a cool name.
That's probably a very accurate name.
It's fitting.
Yeah. But yeah, Fernet is an interesting spirit for those who don't know it. Obviously, we're not tasting it here, but it has a very complex, dry flavor, and that is maybe one of those liqueurs that you don't like or you really like.
Yeah.
But pairing that with maple might actually work. I haven't had that cocktail personally, but I'd be down to try it.
What about you, Dave? I know you said that you're more of an Irish whiskey guy yourself. What's your favorite whiskey on the rocks?
I don't drink whiskey. Sorry.
Oh no, it's all right. What's your spirit of choice?
Well, obviously, I already chatted that I like the Glenfarquist, the 17-year. It just had that lingering taste that I just favor for a long time. So.
No, I love that.
To a whiskey drinker, and then once I start mixing it with something, maybe I'll be able to comment on that.
Are you in like an elementary school classroom right now? It looks like you got a whiteboard behind you.
It's my office.
Okay,
nice.
And where are you located today?
Doing work from
right outside of Philadelphia.
Nice.
I like it.
I think we saw a weather update from Philadelphia earlier.
I think we did as well.
Rain.
Darn. Well, hopefully this tasting will help warm you up a little bit. So.
And what about Patrick O'Leary? Don't tell me you like Irish whiskey.
No, I put in the comments. My favorite is a Boulevardier, which is the Negroni with bourbon instead of gin.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I love that.
That's like your go-to if you go to any cocktail bar?
I mean, as it gets warmer out, I like the bitterness of the Campari, and I prefer bourbon over gin. So it's a great blend.
Right on.
Perfect.
What about Alexis? You've been pretty silent this entire time. Any feedback or favorite cocktails you want to share with us that involve whiskey?
I like the rye.
You like the rye?
I like the rye. Nice. I dig it.
Sweet.
It's a good one. So, well, I'm glad you guys liked them. I hope you guys had a good time and this was educational for you. Hopefully you guys can make some cocktails at home and expand your palates and keep going.
Yeah, well, listen, we would like to thank Workato and Harbinger for joining us. This has been an awesome experience. I hope you guys don't have anywhere to drive tonight after we've sampled all of these drinks, but we appreciate you coming and joining us today. And we hope that this was educational, informative for you, and it was a good experience for everybody. And if you have any questions before we wrap this up, please feel free to enter the chat or unmute yourself. And
yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.